you move on to AIT. You're going to do your 42 Alpha stuff.
Mm.
How was AIT for you? Is it how different? So
9 day,
9 day difference. So it was way better than basic training was.
Oh yeah. Okay. So AIT for a 42 Alpha is weird because, excuse me,
You good.
uh, the command sergeant major who's in charge of our battalion, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was an infantry guy. We had a group PMCSing from Fort Bragg, I believe Fort Bragg, whichever is the airborne school, right? I can't Bragg. Thank you.
PMCSing is
What is
for
Yeah,
me.
Bragg?
PMCSing is where you're doing a. Don't make me say acronyms. Okay, so it's essentially where a unit is moved over to another place for
A short move.
yeah. I think the P stands for permanent, but it's not permanent. So that's uh, it basically means I think it's PCSing, not PMCSing. PMCSing is performance maintenance checks, and I'm sorry, I used the wrong acronym. It's PCSing is permanent change of status. Uh, I believe that
That
could be wrong.
what Babbitt's doing right now is not uncommon. Like we know acronyms in the military, but we don't know what they stand for. We just know what they are.
To be fair, these are active duty acronyms that we would never need to use anyways.
Yeah.
PMCSing is something that you'll use. You use it every time. Like it's one of the things that I've noticed on our draws that is an issue is that, and this is just like something that I could have brought up at some point in time, but it's not really worth talking about because in a trained environment we probably should do it anyways. Whenever I used to do draws back in the day for the gold program, I was in the gold program, and it was like it was weird because our only cadre was a sergeant first class and a captain that were just like you could do whatever as long as you could find me the regulation and rules, right? So like I would like for instance if we were doing movements, I would be like, "Can I take my POV?" And they'd be like, "If you could fill out a draw correctly." And so one of the things like for the vehicle, right, or like for our equipment, PMCSing basically means that you're checking it over, right? So instead of writing doing performance checks on this vehicle, we should be writing or PMCSing this truck, stuff like that. It's like small, like minute details that both are technically correct, but one is like Army correct,
Gotcha.
Yeah. And again, this is maybe another confidently wrong situation where I was told something, you know what I mean? Uh,
So back to AIT.
Yeah, sorry.
So how? No, I know. That's okay. Going on tangents is good, but so AIT. So it's night and day different from basic training. What's the major differences? I mean, you're just treated better, or
Well-
I mean, they still smoke you there. Like, what's the
Okay.
kind of the?
So AIT, at least for a 42 Alpha, is more intense than basic training was because of the mentality that 42 Alphas are slackers, right? And so the command sergeant major that was in charge of our battalion was like, "Listen, we have airborne units here. You guys need to stay to the standard of the airborne units." So, like, it was a smoke show a lot of the time, but also at the end of the day, I had my laptop. I had we were given off hours where we could just do whatever we wanted. The weekends were entirely free. Like, uh, well, okay, not entirely free because of COVID times. There were like restrictions, right? But like we couldn't go off post. We couldn't we couldn't like we had like two walk routes. We couldn't take cars, right? Like back in the day, you could have just like gotten a taxi and driven over to like the PX or to clothing and sales, right? But like that was restricted because of COVID, right? They couldn't like you couldn't be in somebody else's taxi. I guess it was like a post rule.
Okay.
And that's again not army wide, it's a post rule. So that like stuff like that. But like for the most part, I would go in, I would wake up, we would do PT. It wasn't self-guided like we have it. It was like an actual like there were drill sergeants teaching it. And it was like pretty intense. Like I think our shortest runs were always like 4 or 5 miles at like a kind of slow pace. But like still like it was enough to where you were just like annoyed by it because this you woke up at like 5 in the morning and like the drill sergeants were always like really good at like running cadences there. So like half of the cadences were about how much it sucked to do PT. So you were just like screaming out about how angry you were at the world. Another thing that I noticed that was different, the the DFAC was just like way better. Like 369's DFAC, I think is like on record as being like the most award-winning DFAC in the entirety of South Carolina, like in Fort Jackson. So
Wow.
like it's like genuinely really good.
Sign me up. I only
Yeah,
got that basic training defect chow.
dude, you want to know something crazy? I get there, they're serving steak and lobster.
My
Day
God.
one,
Day
they're
one.
serving steak and lobster. Yeah. The drill sergeant looks at us and is like, "Yes, you can use the ice cream machine. Please don't eat ice cream for breakfast. Go do whatever." And we were like, "Okay." And so I ate ice cream for breakfast for like 2 weeks.
And I will say this: I don't know about you, but when I was there for Thanksgiving for basic training, so we actually had the drill sergeant serve us for Thanksgiving, and they had steak, lobster.
We got it for our victory
You
meal
got it for
after the
victory meal?
forge.
Okay.
So we got crab legs, steak, all kinds of good stuff.
Did you guys were at basic during Thanksgiving? This is a genuine question. Did they not give you leave?
No, there was no leave. We just had Thanksgiving. They gave us a big Thanksgiving dinner.
That's really strange to me because I've always been told, at least I've always been told that like they would take leave for like maybe it's because it's right next to Christmas and I know Christmas gets a block leave, so yeah.
I would probably say so because everyone did sign up for Christmas leave, but I was going back to Oklahoma after that, so I didn't have to worry about it.
Mm.
So